I'd like to call the Delaware County Commissioners meeting to order. It is Tuesday, September 7th, 2021. The time is 9:02. If everybody could please stand for the pledge. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Oh, got it.
Steve, could you call the roll, please?
Mr. Henry.
Here.
Ms. Reagan.
Present on Zoom.
Mr. King.
Here.
Mr. Brook.
Here. First up, we have tabled business ordinance to limit weight and commercial truck traffic on county roads in Delaware County.
Commissioners, I would ask that you continue that on the table. I had a meeting with Tommy and Angie last week, and I just couldn't finish the ordinance in time, so.
Okay. We'll just leave that tabled then, and we'll move to approval of minutes. We have August 12th, 2021 special meeting, and also August 16th, 2021, the commissioners meeting.
I make a motion, we approve both sets of minutes.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Steve, can you call the roll, please?
Ms. Reagan.
Yes.
Mr. Henry.
Yes.
Mr. King.
Yes. Next, we have presentations. We'll move to United Way, Jenny Marsh and Holly Jupp.
Hi, thank you so much for having us. Can you hear me okay, Sherry?
Yes, ma'am.
Good. I'm Jenny Marsh, President and CEO of Heart of Indiana United Way. Your United Way of Delaware County has a new name because we have now merged with United Way of Madison County to serve 5 counties: Delaware, Fayette, Henry, Madison, and Randolph. The purpose in doing so is to keep condensing those back office operations, to be most judicious with the funds we're given so we can have greater, broader impact across all counties. But in doing so, we have maintained our commitment that donor dollars go where donors wish them to go. So if you are passionate about the work we're doing here in Delaware County, absolutely, you can make sure that your gifts to United Way stay right here in Delaware County. And I will tell you, across the heart of Indiana, nearly half of all households cannot make ends meet, including Delaware County. About 47% are either what we call ALICE, they're asset limited, income constrained, and employed, or they live in poverty and qualify for public assistance. Unfortunately, with COVID-19, our ALICE numbers we know have increased, as many of those households were disproportionately impacted by the pandemic. I'm super proud to say, because of donors' past support of United Way, we had an emergency fund reserve set up so that we could work with the area nonprofits and get funds out to the folks who most needed it during the pandemic. And since COVID-19 began, we have granted $1,027,000 right here in Delaware County to help families with food insecurity, energy assistance, educational needs, and we have partnered with our local funders here to make sure that we are most impactful with those dollars. I am so proud of that work because that happened in addition to United Way's standing commitment to 26 nonprofits where we granted out over $830,000. Couldn't have done it if it hadn't have been for Delaware County's donors. And so I thank you all commissioners for your past support in allowing United Way to run a campaign here with the county employees. I want to introduce you all to Holly Yipe. Holly is an amazing United Way supporter, advocate, and employee, and will be coordinating the Delaware County campaign should the commissioners approve our running it this year. So we are seeking your blessing to run a campaign amongst the Delaware County employees as the key convener during the pandemic, hearing from all of our nonprofits, hearing from our health department, hearing from our funders and bankers. We were able to be super strategic, and we couldn't have done that if it hadn't have been for our Delaware County supporters. So I would love for Holly to be able to come in and give presentations to your employees and seek support. Of course, we never want to strong arm people. We are asking for their support and help. So we would seek your approval for that this year.
Thank you, Jenny. I would suggest that she go down and talk to our HR, Mrs. McCammon, and see what she can help you do. And I'm sure we'll give you our 100% support.
Thank you very much, Sherry. Appreciate it.
You have no problem with them coming in?
Yeah, I
talking
think
to
it's,
Pam?
I think it's great.
Yep.
Appreciate you guys.
Me too. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have Apex, Bill Sylvester.
Good morning. I'm Bill Sylvester with Apex Benefits, and we've got a couple different things we want to talk about as far as health insurance. Number one is we would like to do a PBM, a pharmacy benefit manager PBM. With the number of specialty medications that you are on and the cost of those, we think that at a minimum we can save you over $200,000 by looking at different pharmacy benefit managers as opposed to the one that you currently have in place. And there are several different PBMs that have programs that can address the cost both to the individual and to the county that your current PBM does not have in place. So we actually have a letter of agreement that Pam has that all we really need is your okay to just take this out to bid in an RFP to see if we can't find savings by shopping your PBM.
I don't have a problem with looking into this.
I'm okay with it.
Yep.
Save some
I
money.
agree.
Just
Make a motion to approve?
Second.
have a motion and a second. Steve, can you call the roll, please?
Mr. Henry,
Yes.
Ms. Reagan,
Yes.
Mr. King,
Yes. Anything else?
Yes.
You don't have an insurance name.
We would like to put in a online benefit admin system so that you're not enrolling on paper all the time with the different carriers. And Steel Benefits has a platform that we would like to introduce you to. And of the 17 counties that I'm the broker of, we have 8 of them use this system. So they're very county friendly. They're involved with the Association of Indiana Counties. And we believe that we can, with One America having tech credits, a $1 PEPM tech credit that costs you nothing, and some alternative, let's say, I don't know, some alternative funding from different carriers, we believe that we can do this for you in a cost neutral way. And the benefit of this is it streamlines the process for HR, it streamlines the process for your members. People don't have to enroll online, but it's a helpful tool for both payroll, HR. So we would like to have you make a motion or recommend that you agree to a cost neutral Steel Benefits Ben admin system.
Is this the Aflac?
Yeah. So the Aflac thing, we were going to try to fund it through Aflac,
Right.
but I'm not sure you have much Aflac anymore. I think that was moved to Allstate.
Okay.
So there are several different carriers that can do this, that have tech credits that can fund it. And we thought Aflac would have been a no-brainer, but I don't think you have much Aflac anymore. Aflac said they don't think you have
Okay.
much there. So we can find alternative funding from different carriers.
Well, if you can find one, I'm make a motion to approve.
I'll
Second.
second it. Steve, can you call the roll, please?
Ms. Reagan,
Yes.
Mr. Henry,
Yes.
Mr. King,
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes,
Thank you.
there is a contract. It's like, I keep waiting for motion approved. Sorry. There is a contract with this. If you want to look it over and sign it, get it back to Pam and she'll get it back to us. It's pretty perfunctory, I think.
Sure.
Can I leave this with? Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we'll move to Delaware Muncie Comprehensive Plan and Muncie Strategic Investment Plan. Marta?
Marta Moody, Executive Director for the Delaware Muncie Plan Commission. And we are in the, toward the end of a major project through the Plan Commission to update the comprehensive plan for Muncie and Delaware County. And we do have a presentation this morning from our consultants. Our project manager is Pete Lombardi, who is on the left. Yes, he waved. And our other team members, Thomas and Matt Engels. So I will turn it over to them. They wanted to give you sort of a brief presentation on where we've been and where we're at and how the process is going. So I'll turn it over to them.
All right, thank you, Marta. And I can see the presentation is up on your screen. So we really appreciate the opportunity to present an update about this project this morning. We'll have a few minutes of slides, and then we'll be certainly happy to take any questions that anyone has. So as Marta said, I'm Pete Lombardi. We have Thomas Eddington and Matt Ingalls from our team here this morning. What we're producing for this project called Together DM is a new Delaware Muncie comprehensive plan, an update to the previous comprehensive plan that was done about 20 years ago. This is a long-range plan for the county and the city of Muncie that sets the general direction for the community. You can think about it as serving as a foundation for zoning and development regulations, among other things, and to think about it as a guide for investment by local and county governments, and kind of a process for identifying cross-jurisdictional priorities. So at a high level, that's kind of what the comprehensive plan will do. But there's also this additional component, a City of Muncie strategic investment plan and a Delaware County strategic investment plan that will serve as kind of the more ground level blueprint for implementing the comprehensive plan in the city, in the county. And in the case of the City of Muncie, this will serve as an update to the Muncie Action Plan that was first done back in 2010. So that's what we've been working on since January. And there are kind of three legs to our work that has helped to shape our processes and our work with the community. One is to make sure that the comprehensive plan gets the big things right, that it prioritizes and identifies what are the issues that are of utmost importance to the community. We want to make sure that this plans for what is known, that we use the best data available to really understand what's happening, especially on priority issues to the community, so that there's kind of a really solid basis for taking action going forward. And third, making sure that this plan creates a decision-making framework for what is unknown. Making sure that this plan can be useful years from now by providing a basis for making decisions on matters that we just can't predict right now. So those three are kind of the legs of the stool of this planning process. It began back in January. This chart here is kind of a timeline for this project. Began in January with a phase one of doing a lot of analysis and key issue identification. Phase two, that is kind of winding down right now, was an engagement phase, seeking input from the community on a vision for the future, on core values and planning principles, and what those priority issues really are. And you can see the yellow arrow at the bottom of this slide kind of points out where we are right now, the beginning of phase three, where we're drafting the plan. And we'll be going back and forth with our steering committee and with the community over the next couple of months on making sure that the draft that is completed by the end of this year really is responsive to what we've been hearing and the priorities that the community has been expressing. There are three primary ways that we've been engaging the public through this process, in addition to a steering committee that we've met with several times already. One method is kitchen table conversations, where we've given the steering committee some prompts to pull together small focus groups to work through a question, to work through a scenario, and to report back to us on what they were hearing in this conversation with neighbors, with peers, with colleagues. That's happened in about 3 rounds through this process so far. We also have online surveys as a part of this process. We had one back in March that was focused on identifying key issues. And there's one available right now at the project website, togetherdm.org, through September 17th, that walks the participants through the key issues that have been raised so far, and some ideas for addressing key issues. The third leg of engagement process has been open houses. We had 3 open houses back in June, and our next round is coming up in the first week of October. Dates and times are still being determined. But these are the 3 main ways that we've been engaging with the community, in addition to having a steering committee. The website, again, is togetherdm.org. If you haven't had a chance to check that out yet, I would encourage you to stop by there to see materials in the project library, posters, presentations that have been prepared so far, as well as it's the launching point for that online survey that's currently open. So that sort of process update. The big things that have been identified during this process so far, as you'll see, improving quality of place, strengthening housing conditions and options, and cultivating opportunities for upward mobility. These have arisen from a combination of steering committee feedback, the online surveys, those kitchen table conversations, and these were really validated during those 3 open houses that we hosted in June, that these 3 fairly broad issues constitute priorities in the city of Muncie and in Delaware County right now. And so this has really framed a lot of the research we've been doing, and it's been framing the strategy development work that we're doing right now. If you think about improving quality of place, you might ask, well, what does that mean? There are a handful of ways that we've been thinking about it deeply over the past few months, and this really comes from the feedback we've been getting from the community. Roads and street conditions are one of the primary ways that people have been talking to us about quality of place and sense of place, the degree to which the condition of the public infrastructure expresses confidence about the future of the community and gives people confidence about investing in neighborhoods and communities in Delaware County. So that's one of the primary ways that people have spoken to us about quality of place and making sure that this plan is about improving that. The sense of place expressed by corridors, gateways, and main streets throughout the county has been expressed in a number of different ways. Attention to land development regulations and needs to update those in some cases. That has come up during this process, and a focus on parks and other public recreational assets are another way that quality of place has been expressed to us as a way that people are thinking about a priority for the community over the next 10 or 15 years. So improving quality of place, one priority that has been raised. The second priority, strengthening housing conditions and options. So with this, we're looking at the condition of residential properties and levels of disinvestment throughout the community. We did a survey of property conditions, over 33,000 properties in the city, in all of the incorporated towns and in unincorporated residential clusters, to get a sense of levels of investment and disinvestment in the housing stock. We've been looking at vacancy rates, owner occupancy rates for single family properties, and getting an overall sense of the strength of the housing market and how it has an impact on the levels of reinvestment by existing property owners, and also the degree to which new development is made possible or not, or infeasible by the strength of the market. those are all things that we've been looking at and things we've been hearing from people about on that priority. And the third priority, cultivating opportunities for upward mobility, which is really an economic focus. For that, we've been hearing concerns about concentrations of high poverty, and looking at that and its impact on the ability of households that are in poverty to climb the economic ladder in Delaware County. Labor force participation rates and preparation across all sectors, from agriculture to manufacturing to the service sector. That's been part of what we've been hearing from folks and part of what we've been looking at. And looking at gaps between city and suburban rural school performance as one of the factors that influences concentrations of poverty in some communities, and that also influences the ability of especially low-income children of low-income households to climb the ladder economically within the community. So those are the three priorities and some of the key factors in each of those priorities that we've been looking at and that are shaping the drafting process for the plan right now. And these all play a role in thinking about potential direction that this plan could point the community in. A few ways that a comprehensive plan can give guidance to a community is if folks are very happy with the direction that the community is going in, a comprehensive plan can be about staying the course and making sure that the community doesn't fall off track if folks are very happy with the current direction of the community. Comprehensive plan can also be about making some minor course corrections if outcomes that are sought are a little bit different from the outcomes that are currently being experienced in a community. From the research that we've been doing, the discussions we've been having, we sense that the community is not likely to experience different outcomes on these three priority issues if this is a stay the course plan or if this is a minor course correction plan. And so the direction that has been emerging over the past few months is that this is a plan that's about identifying some major course corrections to be made in the city of Muncie, in Delaware County, to really get some traction on advancing the community, on quality of place, on housing conditions, and on economic upward mobility. And when it comes to thinking about what a major course correction might look like, this has really boiled down to this phrase of get the basics right. That getting the basics right on road conditions, going from 63% of roads in need of complete reconstruction or major rehabilitation, which is the situation right now in Delaware County, taking care of that and getting those numbers moving in the right direction. That's a fairly radical course correction to make, but it's all about getting the basics right. And the same applies to making sure that more and more property owners in Delaware County feel confident about fixing the roof, painting the siding, reinvesting in properties in ways that express pride and confidence in the community. So getting the basics right now is kind of the way that we are thinking about a major course correction, especially with reference to these three priorities, as kind of the overall direction that this plan will be taking as it gets drafted over the next month or so. In terms of the next steps for this planning process, as I mentioned, we'll be developing that first draft during this month for discussion during meetings in early October, including an open house. That second online survey is currently open and closes on September 17th. We're encouraging everyone, especially those who've been participating in this process so far, to provide additional feedback through that survey. With those community open houses will occur in early October, tentatively set for the 6th and 7th, with details forthcoming on place and time. And in terms of the remainder of this process, it'll really be about refining a draft through October and November so that we get to a point in December where it's final, and that the City of Muncie's council is comfortable with adopting it as the comprehensive plan, and that this Board of Commissioners is happy with adopting it as a comprehensive plan for Delaware County. So those are the next steps for this process, and I know this is a quick presentation of a rather complex process so far. So we'll stop there in terms of our presentation, and And we're happy to take any questions that anyone has about this.
Anybody have any questions?
I don't have anything.
Sherry, do you have anything?
No, well, just has transportation and the broadband they've been talked about some?
Yes, I would say that broadband. I know that that broadband and high-speed internet access was listed as a potential priority. I think on the first online survey and at the open houses that we had, and it just didn't rise to the level that some other issues have. So in terms of ranking things, we put it out there as an option. It just hasn't ranked as highly as you might see in some other communities right now. And with transportation, I would say that we see transportation being really wrapped up in that improving quality of place priority in terms of the quality of transportation infrastructure. And you might also see it or think of it as part of that upward economic mobility priority in terms of where do people live versus where are jobs, and how does transportation play a role in helping households access economic opportunities. So that might be one way of kind of thinking about how transportation interacts with these priorities.
We've got one of the best companies in the midst buses that serve us, but they're having trouble even getting the staff to run their buses. Now, it might have improved, but back in July and August, they were having to look at cutting some of the service, and it really hurt us out there at our Justice Center. They had to cut back, and so transportation really just going to have to be improved around here as far as and the broadband. But thank you very much. I've enjoyed working with you folks, and see you in October.
Yeah, thanks, Jerry. It's been a pleasure talking to you throughout this process too.
Well, I agree with Sherry. Broadband is an issue, and it's an issue for the people in the county,
Not in the
and
city.
it's not in the
Yeah.
city where you have road issues in the city that it's not in the county. So
Right.
it's that's a problem with working on a joint plan like this. Is you got I feel like broadband would be more important for our people in the county because they don't have access to it.
I agree with you, because over the COVID issues and everything we've
Yeah.
seen,
Yeah.
where kids in the rural areas has had to go home, and we've had problems with broadband in the county,
Yeah.
when it's the bigger issue
In the
out
county.
there than
Yeah.
what it is
Yeah.
within
Yeah.
the city.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, and to me, it's like we've got, as Pete was saying, we've identified three big things, but the one that dealt with opportunities for upward mobility, to me, I see the broadband issue being tied into that as much as the other two. So it could be seen as a subset of those, because access to broadband it can deal with education, it can deal with jobs, working from home, all of those things that tie into these three big things that have been identified. I just see it as, it may not be its own top level priority, but it's still a priority that ties into all of those things. I mean, that's sort of the way I look at it.
Very good.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Marta, only thing I'll add to that as well, it could also be included as part of quality of life as well. So when we move into developing the strategic investment plans, both for Muncie, and Delaware County, that could be something that maybe is part of the action plan in Delaware County, but not necessarily part of the action plan for the city of Muncie. So we do that when we get to the end of this process, we are going to have two strategic investment plans that won't, they'll kind of function independently and serve the needs for, each of the, larger municipalities.
okay.
Thank you.
Do I have anything else? Thanks for the presentation today. We really appreciate it. Thanks, Marta.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Next, we have Peterson Consulting. Mr. Craycraft.
This is your asset reporting. You renew it every year. They're the company that did all of our assets they have for the last 5 or 6 years, so they do a really good job.
I make a motion, we approve the contract with Peterson Consulting.
Second,
Have a motion and a second. Steve, can you call the roll, please?
Ms. Reagan,
yes.
Mr. Henry,
Yes.
Mr. King,
Yes. Next, we have US Signal. Mr. Fluke.
Morning, Commissioners. Jim Fluke from the IT Department. What I'm presenting today is a solution for the county to have its backup of all their data put out in an off-network solution using US Signal to store this data in the cloud. Presently, we've got 2 backup solutions that we have, one on site on this building and another one in another facility, but it's all within the same network to try to eliminate and alleviate any access from outside sources. In talking to 2 or 3 vendors that we've been looking at for backup solutions in the past 6-8 months, this come up as a kind of a temporary solution for us to get our data in a non-attack mode situation, so we can hopefully never have an issue with the county being attacked with ransomware or cybersecurity. But this is another level that we can put the county in to feel a little safer, that if something does happen that we can fall back to. This contract is a month-to-month solution, and our goal right now is to bring this in for a 6 to 8 month trial period till we look and see what kind of backup solution we're going to bring in to replace our current backup. Potentially, we may involve another solution for off-site, off-network type of storage of our data. The data that we push out there is not something that we access. We put it out there, we leave it there, and basically it's there for us if we do need it. It's not something that we push data daily out there or daily backups. It puts us in a situation that we can have multiple backups over multiple months, and we'll carry it out our monthly, semi-yearly, and yearly backups that we'll push out there. But we'll see how this goes in our initial period and make our decisions down the road as far as backup solutions that we can maybe look at this as a full-time solution for the county to have. It's used by a number of companies, governments, to provide this level of protection. So I request that we take consideration of this and implement this for a 6 to 8 month period, and then we can back off if it doesn't fit, or if we do see that it fits, then we can continue on with it. The price of it is fairly reasonable from the 2 or 3 companies that we've had. Max, I think, is $500 a month. That's if we use all of the data storage that we requested. And we're only billed for the amount of data that we push out there. So if we only use half of what's been proposed here in this, then we're only get charged half of that amount of money. So it's not something that we're going to be tied to and not be able to get away from.
John, have you looked at the agreement?
I have. I don't see anything wrong with it. It's pretty standard software, computer type agreement.
Okay.
You have money, Mr. Fluke, to?
Yes,
be able to
I
take
have
care of
that in our budget right now for this trial period. If we decide that we're going to go on down the road, then I may have to go back to council and ask for some additional funds to fund this, but it's a, I think it's a safeguard that the county needs to consider to protect its data.
I'll make a motion, we approve the agreement with US Signal.
I'll second.
Have a motion and a second. Steve, can you call the roll, please?
Mr. Henry,
Yes.
Ms. Reagan,
Yes.
Mr. King.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have grant certification letter, Mr. Ritter with 911.
Good morning.
Morning.
Yeah, before you, a letter from the Indiana Statewide 911 Board that is part of cleanup from the federal grant that Delaware County participated in back in 20 and 21 to replace the call handling equipment at the 911 center. This letter of certification is similar to what you signed back in 19, I believe, but is just part of NHTSA and NTIA's cleanup of their review for the grant. All this stipulates is that you'll use the funds in accordance with the terms of the grant, which you have. That equipment's been purchased, installed, and the county has received their reimbursement from the feds. So I need your signature and the county's DUNS number on that document so I can send it back yet today.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Have a motion and a second for approval. Mr. Kirkcraft, can you call the roll, please?
Ms. Reagan,
Yes.
Mr. Henry,
Yes.
Mr. King.
Yes.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Next, we'll move to the Commissioner's American Rescue Plan funds. John, you want to start off with this?
Yes. What I've provided to the commissioners based upon our various meetings, and I've had several meetings with different office holders and different individuals about the spending of the American Rescue Plan funds that the county received. This is the plan for your consideration to be reviewed, and then final approval would happen at the next meeting. Commissioner King and I met with the city before they introduced their plan so that the city and the county's plans would be complementary to each other, and that we would cover the areas outside the city of Muncie. They would cover the areas inside the city of Muncie, and we would complement each other. The plan is particularly heavy on infrastructure, but we're hoping that we can leverage that money with the state revolving loan fund and money that the state got for some of these projects. Some of these other projects, and especially in the towns, also made applications for SWIFR grants to get funding. They were put in a plan so that if they receive the SWIFR grant money, then the plan can be amended, money moved around to other projects. The project one is the mental health and rehabilitation treatment center at the new Justice Center. That's to build out the area and continue working on that. And I know that I've been in contact with Davidson County, Tennessee about their project. And so this money is to be used for furniture, build out, all that stuff in the Justice Center. And then the other projects, I've tried to be as complete as possible in the description of each of the projects so that they can be reviewed. So we'll also have a spreadsheet of the plans, and I believe that Jenny was going to make a request for an appropriation from the county council at their meeting on the 28th.
And Kyle, you can put this on our website as soon as we're done with it today.
I'll send it to you, Kyle, all right?
Anybody want to go over any of the projects or?
I've went over them So, I mean,
You can see this is version 11.6. I've been,
Yeah.
So it's,
I've got
Yeah, yeah.
lots of
It's
different
taken a
versions.
while.
we've had a few of these.
John, I appreciate what all you've done. And I want to clarify that we're receiving 11 million this year and 11 million next year, correct?
Correct, that's right.
And I spent a few hours trying to go back and forth from the written plan to the spreadsheet. And it's just cumbersome, but I added it up, and our plan right now as presented is 27 million. And then if we give it to council, are they the ones then who would have to cut back instead of us presenting it?
No, the appropriation would go to the council for they would only appropriate the money that has been provided to them from the federal government, the 11 million that has been done. The reason that the money, the projects exceed is, as I said, there are grants that people are looking for, like the town of Albany has a Swiffer grant for its project down Main or State Street. If they get that, then that money comes out. That 750,000 comes out of the plan. Eaton has done the same thing with regard to their water project. They've got a Swiffer grant as well. There are also some other grants that the Regional Wastewater District have. There's Project Hope, which that money may not be needed for sewer extension. These are all projects that have the possibility of being funded, and if none of the Swiffer grants and nothing comes out, then the commissioners have to revise the plan and make the cuts and make the decisions there. But we put it in there so that, for example, Albany could start the process of design work, because what they're trying to coordinate is with the state repaving State Road 28 through downtown Albany, and they're wanting to do water and sewer during that process. They don't want to have to tear up the state highway and repave it if they can't coordinate with the state. And so that's one thing there. That's kind of why it's been put in there. So right now, yes, the plan has more money than has been allocated to the county. And if the money comes from other sources, then those projects can go out and the county can look at other projects and revise the plan.
On page 6, item 5, the fairgrounds, the 250,000 I thought was going to be mostly a reimbursement to help them get over from last year. And now I understand that it's going to be going to the Heartland to do the sprinkler system. So,
well, that's just one example of one thing that they need that they couldn't work on because they lost so much money last year.
correct.
I mean, they didn't have a fair, so they couldn't have it. So they need money to replace things or fix things that had they had a fair, they would have had the money to do that. And so that's just an example of how they would use those funds to do that, to fix something that could have been done last year had the pandemic not canceled the fair. So they're going to get the money to replace the income they lost, then they can use it for stuff that they could have and should have fixed. They have a real issue with the sprinkler system in Heartland Hall right now that they need to address right away, that they
Right.
can't because they didn't have the income from the fair last year.
And I don't want the people out at Delville to think that I'm picking on them, but on page 9, the item 3, the Delville sewer lift station, could that not be used come out of the TIF money out there?
Well, first of all, the Delville Interceptor Sewer and Overlook Drive, those are projects for the Regional Wastewater District. The town
Right.
of Delville does not own and operate its sewer system. So that's a regional wastewater district. Those are regional wastewater district projects. The Regional Wastewater District hasn't invested money in Delville in a significant number of years, more than 15 years. And so this interceptor is needed because Daleville has grown since the last time the sewer system was addressed in Daleville. And that's been needed for a number of years, and that was on the Regional Wastewater District list of projects that needs to be done. The TIF district cannot afford to pay all of that because the TIF district has payments and bond payments, and right now is also contributing to the help pay for the costs of the Chesterfield sewer treatment plant, which was part of the deal for Chesterfield to expand their plant to take Daleville's waste. So that was all part of that plan.
I'd like to make a motion that we table it till our next meeting.
Well, it was my understanding that this was just to be introduced. It's not going to be finalized, and that there would be input coming in and then finalized at the next meeting. This isn't the final version as I understand it, correct?
So we're just,
No,
Right. I'll make a motion, we introduce the plan.
It's just for introduction.
second,
have a motion and a second for introduction. Steve, can you call the roll, please?
Ms. Reagan,
yes.
Mr. Henry,
Yes.
Mr. King,
Yes. We'll move on to the maintenance service for Superintendent Steve Foster.
This is a contract that I drafted for maintenance superintendent. Mr. Foster is taking Charlie Walker's place, but because of Charlie's overtime, vacation, whatnot, the maintenance superintendent's position won't be able to be funded as a salary until November 1, I think it is. But in the meantime, work needs to be done, and Mr. Foster needs to get some, be paid for his work. And so this would be done as part of a contractual services agreement for him to work for the county.
I make a motion, we approve the agreement.
Second,
Have a motion and a second. Mr. Craycraft, can you call the roll, please?
Mr. Henry,
Yes.
Ms. Reagan,
yes.
Mr. King.
Yes. We have no ordinances or resolutions, so we'll move on to department heads and elected officials. Emily Anderson, you'd like to discuss one of our ordinances,
Sure.
which is
Good
ordinance
morning.
2021-009.
Yeah, so the Security Committee introduced this ordinance 009. The Security Committee put this together, which mirrored our last ordinance for the Justice Center concerning weapons in the building. And then we added where employees could carry as long as the supervisors or elected officials gave them permission. And then a few months later, this other ordinance came out, the 2021-021, and it kind of it didn't include that language with the employees' permission. So that kind of threw a wrench in our process for employees to have policies put in place or whatever. The other thing on the 021 ordinance is talks about cell phones. We don't have a policy on cell phones in the corridors because we can't monitor that. So the judges just did an order saying no electronic devices in the courtroom. And in that order, it says that the person can be held in contempt and the electronic device can be confiscated, because we can't expect our security to monitor the hallways, because cell phones are allowed in the building for prosecutor, for probation, and all that. With us all being together, there's just no way to monitor that. So this 021 it contradicts things that are going on out there. So I didn't know how to clean this up.
Well, Mr. Brook and I have been working on this, so we'll get it cleaned up and try to
Okay.
get a revised
Okay.
edition, okay?
Okay. So pretty much just the cell phone, and then we just want to make sure the employees, I guess I don't know if we get rid of the 09 or just incorporate it into the 021. I don't
Okay.
know.
Yeah, we will.
Okay. Thank
you.
you.
Any other department head elected officials?
I want to say something real quick, if no one else is going to. I got a complaint out at the reservoir in reference to speeding vehicles and everything out there on the side where everything's at. Tommy, you want to come up? Yeah. Tommy and I have been looking at this. I've been out there several times. I went out there and spent some time yesterday. The speed limit out there is 30, and there's nobody going 30 at all. They're going anywhere from 40 to 65 down that road. And with bicycles present, people standing along the bridges, it's very dangerous. And now we've got a new restaurant that's opened out there in close proximity, or a new store, and things. And I know yesterday was a holiday, but things were very hectic out there. So I'm proposing we install stop signs at the beach.
Or 400 south.
400 and 450. Am I
That's
right on
correct.
that?
Yep.
Yeah. So I would like to get that done. I know Angie, I've been working with Angie on it. They did a traffic study out there. Obviously there's a lot of vehicles up there. And I have an individual here in the audience. Linda, would you like to come up and speak?
Thank you. I'm Linda Michael, and my husband and I own Michael's Dry Dock Marina. And I had called the commissioners, and I've spoke with Shannon. We've had the marina for 2 years, but we've lived there for 21 years. So for 21 years, I have tried to get something done about the speeding. At our own private property, we have had our pillars knocked out twice by hit and run drivers coming up the hill, going north from the Sailboat Club. And of course,
So you live just south of the Sailboat Club, correct?
yes, we live a mile, live right there at the top of the hill. And since we bought the marina 2 years ago, my concern is I sit there and watch this daily speeding, and a couple of the guys on the sheriff department have been out there clocking people. Jay Reed on the county has clocked them anywhere from 70, 74 miles an hour. So directly in front of the marina, I watch this every day. I worry about the guys that are mowing out there. You've got children playing, it's the park area. You've got bicyclists out there, people on the trails. And lastly, you know, like I said, we own the marina. Now is getting our busy time. I've got my guys pulling out with bringing these boats back and forth from the piers. They're trying to pull out of the parking lot with our trucks and trailers, just about getting hit when you've got somebody traveling 60 miles an hour and you're getting ready to leave our parking lot. It's pretty hard to see these people till they're right on you. So this isn't just the concern for our employees, but it's a concern for the guys mowing out there at the park, the bicyclists, the people that are coming to the park. It's just totally ridiculous. And I've been trying to do this, like I said, for about 21 years that we've lived there. Now with owning the marina, I can really see how horrible it is. And I just want to thank you so much for this help. You don't know how much better I feel. Then I had brought up about the bridge down by the dam where all these fishermen park, and they clog up that three-way stop, and it's almost so difficult for us to get our boats through there on trailers, hauling boats in to customers who, you know, have them take them back to their homes. And again, for people coming out with their campers, people boating out there, is just totally ridiculous. So I see you've got those no parking signs, and I'm just thrilled to death about that. So I just want to thank you.
Well, thanks for getting our attention on that. And it is a problem out there. Like I said, I spent a while out there yesterday, and it's a huge problem out there. Tommy's been working on it. The county has recently purchased 4 electronic signs. County Highway has. So we're going to put a couple of those out there for a little while also. So we'll get it taken care of.
We
But
really
I want to
appreciate it.
propose those stop signs be installed.
Thank you again.
Thank you, Linda. Now,
Motion.
I'll make a motion. We install those signs.
Are we gonna have to do a ordinance also?
We'll have to do an ordinance.
Let me send that to you, John.
Yep,
Prepare
Angela will
it.
send it to me.
And then at our next meeting, we can pass the ordinance and
yeah.
have them put up.
Yeah.
Anyone else?
Do you want a motion that those be installed then?
We'll just
To
have to
adopt the
do the
ordinance.
ordinance.
Okay,
and then-
okay, that's fine.
Because I think we have to have the ordinance before the.
Okay. All right, sounds good.
Everybody get their weights and measures monthly report.
Yes.
We'll go to payment of claims, amount of $4,263,020.30.
So move.
Second.
Have a motion and a second for payment of claims. Mr. Craycraft, can you call the roll, please?
Mr. Henry,
Yes.
Ms. Reagan,
Yes.
Mr. King.
Yes. Next, we'll move to public comments. We only had one sign up.
And that's the one that already spoke.
Yep. John, do you have anything?
Let me just take a peek here. No.
Entertain a motion to recess.
So move.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Mr. Craycraft, can you call the roll, please?
Ms. Reagan,
Yes.
Mr. Henry,
Yes.
Mr. King.
Yes. Doing a recess.